let's just say we're writing a novel, or if we're writing a movie, and we have like these characters in the Exodus story. We've got the bad guy, we've got Pharaoh, the antagonist, right? And we've got this good guy named Moses, the protagonist. He's the hero of the story, right? Where he's the guy for justice, right? Um, by the way, like as a side note, of all the people like in the Bible, I identify with Moses like the most. Um, I did very much like all throughout my life. God's called me to various things, and my God, you got the wrong guy. I'm not the leader you think I am. I'm not even a leader at all. You got the wrong guy. There's a lot more people out more smarter than I, more talented than I, more charismatic, funnier, whatever, right? Um, that's exactly what Moses did, right? You got the wrong guy. And and so we contrast these two like characters here in the story. We got Pharaoh that is confident, maybe even narcissistic, and he's talented, he's skilled, he's competent. And then you contrast this with Moses, and he thinks he's incompetent and not talented and not worthy to be able to do that which God's calling him to do. And then of course you have these people, this people group that needs to be delivered from the bad guy. So if just let's just kind of get creative for a moment. If you're writing the story, how would you write the deliverance? How would Moses get the people out? How would he conquer Pharaoh?
Strike him dead.
Strike him dead. Boom. That's efficient. You were talking about that a long time. So, Renee's all about efficiency. So that is efficient. All right. Zap, and they're gone. All right. Yeah.
Evolution.
Do what?
Be a revolution.
Be a revolution. Okay. Yeah.
Telling in my inner
And-
American.
There you go.
Revolution joke.
So an epic battle between the Israelites and the Egyptians. Okay. Rise up. Everybody likes the underdog story, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
That's another reason why we can identify with Moses. All right. What if it was a Western? What if it was a sci-fi? uh, yeah, a little fun here, right? Huh?
Kind of is.
Kind of is.
Face off, but
Right.
exactly. Just kill each other right off the bat. And there's weird things that happen.
There's weird things that happen. There's weird things that happen, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, God could. I mean, there's times in the Bible where God like caused confusion, and there was like with the bad guys, right? And they start killing each other. He could have just boom, and they're all dead, right? Struck them all down. Could be like a big flash of light, and they're confused, and the Israelites they sneak out. I mean, there's just like tons of it. So why does God deliver them the way that He did? That's the big question, I think. And so it began. Like I began to kind of think, is like, do we write our own deliverance stories sometimes? Do we try?
We tried.
We try to, right? That's the point. It's like, do we try to write our own deliverance stories? I think so. And and so God's got something bigger than what we can ever kind of come up with, which is absolutely amazing. So we get into these plagues. Why God decided to use plagues? No. well, we'll see some clues here. Let's kind of dig into that a little bit. So before we start looking at them individually, let's talk about this purpose a little bit because we last time we talked about how Moses approached Pharaoh, Exodus 5:2. But Pharaoh said, "Who is this Yahweh that I should listen to his voice by sending Israel away? I do not know Yahweh, and furthermore, so I will not send Israel away." So I do not know this Yahweh. And so, what could be the purpose of this confrontation in such a strange way? For him to show that he's Yahweh, that he's God. Right? If you look at 6 of the 10 plagues, God makes his purpose super clear that you will know that I am Yahweh. This is a message to Pharaoh, to the Egyptians, and to the Israelites. Let me remind you, this is who I am. So, Micah, can you throw that up there? So we've got the blood. So by this way, you'll know that I'm Yahweh, the frog, so that you may know that there's no one like Yahweh, the fly, so that you will know that I, Yahweh, am in this land, and the hail, so you may know that there's no one like me in all of the earth. And he repeats this so you may know that the earth is Yahweh's. The locust, that you may know that I am Yahweh, firstborn. You will know that Yahweh makes a distinction between Egypt and Israel. How does what does Jesus say about the world will know that I am God? He says it like this: the world will know that you are my disciples by what? Yeah. Isn't that amazing? That that love is like as powerful as like these, or more powerful than like these plagues. Like we're meant like to deliver the world, to save the world by through love. And that how we love each other is like demonstrates to the world like this, you know, God is God. Like this is Jesus. It points people to Jesus. Now, practically, what that looks like how is the world gonna know like we're loving each other well? I don't know really. Do y'all have any ideas? I mean, there's tons of ways you can apply that, right? But I think that's good for us to kind of think about. I think there's, as we think of like our own communities, 3 kind of main elements that are present that help with demonstrating love or that help with just community, and it's proximity, frequency, and transparency. So even if we don't live like right next door to each other, so the proximity may be kind of hard, but we can be intentional about like meeting together, even outside of Sunday morning kind of gatherings. Proximity, frequency, and transparency. How are we gonna know what's going on with each other? How do we know like how to pray for each other? How do we know like to support each other? How do we know to demonstrate love if we don't know what's going on with each other? Right? So let's get into Exodus 7. Let's do 6 through 13. Got somebody who wants to read that? Read that for us. Chapter 7, 6 through 13. Go for it. Whoever's got it.
So Moses and Aaron did just as the Lord had commanded them. Moses was 80 years old, and Aaron was 83 when they made their demands to Pharaoh. Then the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, Pharaoh will demand, show me a miracle. When he does this, say to Aaron, take your staff and throw it down in front of Pharaoh, and it will become a serpent.
Keep on going. That's for 13.
13.
Yeah.
So Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh and did what the Lord had commanded them. Aaron threw down his staff before Pharaoh and his officials, and became a serpent. Then Pharaoh called in his own wise men and sorcerers, and these Egyptian magicians did the same thing with their magic. They threw down their staffs, which also became serpents. But then Aaron's staff swallowed up their staffs. Pharaoh's heart, however, remained hard. He still refused to listen, just as the Lord had predicted.
All right. Stopping right before we get to that first plague. So let's just talk about the plagues just in general. So the plagues are signs of like uncreation, like undoing what God created. God's in power of that, right? But there's this literary kind of design and kind of technique where there's these repeated themes that the plagues represent this kind of decreation or uncreation kind of thing, where you have chaos in place of order, and we have loss of dominion, like over creatures, and creation is no longer good. In Romans, Paul talks about how it rains on the just and the unjust. Like there's this kind of common grace, and Pharaoh's isn't aware of this. He doesn't recognize that there's this like common grace. Like he thinks he's a god, right? But yet he can't control. He never created like the area. He can't control like creation. And too, it reminds me of that long section, like in Job, where God's kind of confronting Job. It's like, "Hey, where were you when I created the stars and put them in place? Where are you that you tell the sun to rise and when it sets? Where were you? Where are you when the deer gives birth to a fawn? Did you put that into motion?" That reminds me of that whole section, which I just love. So through the plagues, God is kind of deconstructing His own creation to demonstrate that, hey, I can give and I can take away. Like I have control over all of this. And the plagues are also a sign of judgment to come. And in this book, Terence Fretheim and What Kind of God, he identifies kind of some of the links between the plagues and the sea crossing that they kind of point to a disastrous future for the Egyptians. Like Moses' staff is going to swallow Egyptian staffs, and the Egyptians are swallowed by the sea. Water of the Nile turns to blood, and the Egyptian armies are killed in the sea. The frogs cover the land, and how the sea covered the Egyptians, and how dead frogs piled up and dead Egyptians piled up. Not one fly remained, and not one Egyptian remained. And locusts were driven to the sea, just like the Egyptians were driven to the sea. He also points out how these plagues is a sign of deliverance. So if someone could go quickly to Exodus 15:23, and then someone else hit Exodus 16:4, and someone else hit Exodus 16:13. So Exodus 15:23, Exodus 16:4, Exodus 16:13.
Just verse 20.
Yeah.
Now, when they came to Mara, they could not drink the waters of Mara, for they were bitter, and therefore the name of it was called Mara.
Yeah. So here, part of the blood turning, the Nile turning into blood, the water was not drinkable, right? But here we have God providing water for the Israelites. And then 16:4.
The Lord said to Moses, "Look, I'm going to rain down food from heaven for you. Each day the people can go out and pick up as much food as they need for that day. I will test them in this to see whether or not they will follow my instructions."
Okay, good. So that's an opposite of him causing this raining hail that caused destruction, right? So here you have manna coming down for food, right? And then 16:13. That evening, vast numbers of quail flew in through the camp. And the next morning, the area around the camp
July 15th.
Okay. No, that's fine.
Okay.
So when we talk about the locust, so this is in contrast with the locust. So it says that back in like 1415, that they covered all the ground until it was black. So you see the contrast of like what happened, to the Egyptians, contrasted to provision, like for the Israelites. And of course, the plagues say, as a warning. Mikey got Deuteronomy passage. If you do not carefully follow all the words of this law which are written in this book, and do not revere this glorious and awesome name, the Lord your God, the Lord will send fearful plagues on you and your descendants, harsh and prolonged disasters and severe and lingering illnesses. He will bring on you all the diseases of Egypt that you dreaded, and they'll cling to you. That's pretty harsh. Now, obviously, this is a passage of, discipline. But remember, God disciplines like out of love and compassion. God's just not waiting up there, waiting for us to mess up. He's like, gotcha! I get to get you now. He's just like a good parent. He's discipline us, like bringing us into kind of fellowship with Him when we, sin and separate ourselves, from Him. And I wonder if maybe this is less about passages like this is less about God's judgment and more about God's guide rails and guardrails. That life is better when we're doing it His way, and He wants what's best for us, and so He sets up guardrails to keep us in that best kind of lane, so to speak. You know, if we don't stay in the winding roads of life, we don't stay, in our lane, then it could be disastrous. Has anyone ever in here been, other than Micah, been to Ouray, Colorado? Yeah, Ouray. Yeah, some people say it differently. Yeah, excuse me. So, yeah. I forgot. Yeah, we went there too. I've just been there several times with Mike.
Yeah.
So there's this road called the $1 Million Highway. We don't know exactly why it's called that, but did you know? Well, first of all, I think we have a picture of it. If you've never been on it, this is it. Okay, there's no guardrails. This is what it looks like if you're driving this thing. I mean, it's scary. There are no guardrails on that thing. Maybe in a couple of places. Why it doesn't have one there? I have no idea.
Doesn't make a difference.
I know, right? Exactly. I know. This is Death Road in Bolivia. No, that's the one in China. That's in Bolivia. No guardrail. That's another one, right? So yeah.
It's cool.
That's a 2-lane one?
It's actually one lane on the death road.
Is it? I have no idea.
Typically it's a one lane, but buses will pass each other.
That's gonna be scary.
Inches of the buses falling off.
All right. So I want to have just a little fun with this just for a moment because I think this is super important. Have y'all ever seen or know about rally racing? Mm-hmm. Okay, so you've got this car that is a race car that has a lift on it, let's say, because what you're doing is you're going down these like winding country roads, usually dirt roads, and you're going there as fast as you can. Basically, is the whole idea. Super dangerous. You have people like rolling. You got a roll cage and everything because like people are rolling and jumping and flying in the trees, and I mean it's just like crazy kind of racing. So you have a driver and you have a navigator. So the navigator has like a map of the road and has written out cues and is constantly like navigating and telling the driver what is coming. the driver only can, these roads are going like all over the place, and so the driver has no clue what's coming up, and has to rely on the navigator to know. They're going so fast, like they don't have time to react to things that they actually see, and so they have to rely on the navigator to know what's going on. Let's show a little clip of this. This is crazy.
And this is you at Mike.
No.
Left long, trim up, 60 right, slot lateish, 6 right sharp, block. 120, keep right. Latest 5 left sharp, trim. 500. 3 right long, crest. 2 right remember crest, keep left. Slot 4 right, plus lock, cover crest, hits. 60. Open 3 left long.
I love how calm the
Yeah.
navigator is.
I know, exactly. So, I don't know, when I watch that, especially with the volume up, I'm like, shut up, I'm trying to drive! But do we do that like with Jesus? Shut up, I'm trying to drive.
What you meant to our spouse?
I know I do.
Yeah.
Jesus, be quiet, I'm trying to drive.
I got this.
I got this. Yeah. And so Jesus needs to be both the navigator and the one that's driving, right? But that's not good enough for like me, because like I'd be in the passenger seat like riding along, and I'm just gonna grab the steering wheel and do like this. No, let's try to avoid that, Jesus. That's the wrong way. Or I'd be like sitting on the brake, or let's go a little faster, Jesus. This is going too slow, So I would still try to do something right, and so I need to be like not even in the back seat, because I could still reach over. I need to be in the trunk. Jesus put me in the trunk. All right. Let's look at this first plague of blood. So 7. Who's got 7? Let's read 14 through 24.
I can do that.
Okay, go for it.
Then the Lord said to Moses, Pharaoh's heart is unyielding. He refuses to let the people go. Go to Pharaoh in the morning as he goes out to the river. Confront him on the bank of the Nile and take in your hand the staff that was changed into a snake. Then say to him, the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, has sent me to say to you, let my people go, so that they may worship me in the wilderness. But until now you have not listened. This is what the Lord says. By this you will know that I am the Lord. With the staff that is in my hand, I will strike the water of the Nile, and it will be changed into blood. The fish of the Nile will die, and the river will stink. The Egyptians will not be able to drink its water. The Lord said to Moses, tell Aaron, take your staff and stretch out your hand over the waters of Egypt, over the streams and canals, over the ponds and all the reservoirs, and they will turn to blood. Blood will be everywhere in Egypt, even in the vessels of the wood and stone. 24.
Yes, please.
Moses and Aaron did just as the Lord had commanded. He raised his staff in the presence of Pharaoh and his officials and struck the water of the Nile, and all the water was changed into blood. The fish in the Nile died, and the river smelled so bad that the Egyptians could not drink its water. Blood was everywhere in Egypt. But the Egyptian magicians did the same thing by their secret arts, and Pharaoh's heart became hard, and he would not listen to Moses and Aaron, just as the Lord had said. Instead, he turned and went into his palace and did not take even this to heart. And all the Egyptians dug along the Nile to get drinking water because they could not drink the water of the river.
All right. Isn't that anything stand out to you guys?
Exciting.
Do what?
Always makes me laugh. It's like all they did was make the situation worse.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, hey, you think that's bad? We're going to do the same thing, and who cares about our people?
Yeah. How do the magicians do that?
Well, what I find interesting is that even water in wood and stone bowls turns blood as well. So it's not like some kind of scientific phenomenon where just the Nile was affected. This is water in your pots at home. Right.
Which is interesting because some people actually like try to explain this away by natural means, you know, and I'm not in that camp. I think it was totally supernatural.
One has to realize here, River Nile in Egypt is as wide as Mississippi, Missouri towards the other end. So all of that turning into a flood just like just rock. It can't be done.
Right. Yeah. Well, definitely points to God's power, right?
You can think about river Mississippi, Missouri, how wide it is, how much of water is there,
Right.
how much water is going. That is the amount of water which is going through the Egypt.
It's a lot. It's a lot of water.
What surprised me, I didn't think about it before, but I read it this morning, and they dug holes near the river, and
Okay.
they were able to drink. So that water,
So why did
yeah,
what is that about?
like that water wasn't.
Right, which is interesting, right?
And if all the water was turned to blood, then what water did the magicians change to blood?
Right.
If it was already
It's
blood,
already blood.
how did they prove their point?
Right.
Added more Kool-Aid or
Kool-Aid packet. That's
food
it.
coloring or whatever.
All the water could not be turned or people would die. So, I mean, it would have to still be potable water. So maybe that's why they're, you know.
Because it was a whole week.
Yeah.
I read it was 7 days.
So sign of God's mercy. So the sand filtered the water so that it was drinkable, essentially is what that's about.
Well, in all the plagues, it was the Egyptians, right? So maybe
Yes.
maybe they took the Hebrew people's
Right.
water and
Yeah,
turned it to
yeah.
blood.
Yeah. Good point. Wow. That's a good point.
Some of them, I think, affected both the Egyptians and the Israelites. If I'm not mistaken, I don't know.
I thought it was just the Egyptians.
Yeah.
Just the Egyptians, I don't know.
Well, at least with this, I think I don't know. I'm not sure. Don't want to get into that.
Right, it doesn't say.
For sure, at the
I mean,
end.
it says the Nile.
At the
Right.
end, for sure, where the blood had to be.
No, sure.
Oh, but yes, we know for sure.
Absolutely.
But I thought I had read it some time ago, and I don't.
Well, maybe I'll become clear as we continue to go
Yeah.
through.
Well, because like you kind of said in the introduction, God's also revealing His power to the Hebrews.
Yeah.
Because they've been in captivity. They're like, who's God? He hasn't shown me anything, you know. So if the blood went everywhere except to them, then that would be showing them God's provision.
Yeah, absolutely.
The mark of the judgment of the Egyptians.
Yeah, that's good.
Reminding them who he is.
Right.
Which I think is good because, like, what was the whole? Remember we talked about this. Like, what was the whole purpose of the deliverance? Why did God want to bring them out? It wasn't for their own freedom, or just for their own sake of freedom. It was for them to worship Him. So they hadn't been worshiping Him like in Egypt. I think it's super interesting. Well, some of these these plagues kind of point to. There's a lot of people that believe that these plagues point to God was confronting a specific Egyptian god. With this one would have been Hapi, happy, I don't know. Egyptian god of the Nile, a water bearer. um, Obviously, the water is like the source of life itself. And so, for God to take that source like away, isn't that interesting? Um, God's challenging Pharaoh, who is exactly like the source of life. And of course, Jesus talks about this, right? In was it John 7? Well, can you put that passage up there, Micah? So he says, and for context, this is, I think, really important to know the context of this. So when Jesus is saying this, because it's the feast of booths or tabernacle. So you have like 7 days of like pouring water on the altar, I think. But on the eighth day, it ceases. When you stop pouring water. It's on the eighth day that Jesus says this. Super interesting. It says on the last day, the climax of the feast. Okay, anyone who's thirsty may come to me. Anyone who believes in me may come and drink. For the scriptures declare rivers of living water will flow from his heart. When he said living water, he's speaking of the Spirit who would be given to everyone believing in him. But the Spirit had not yet been given because Jesus had not yet entered into his glory. So Jesus talked about the Holy Spirit here being like living water, being life itself. And so that leads us to a couple conclusions. One is the Spirit himself is living water and gives us life. Like water is necessary for our survival. Right? Number two, the Spirit's active as opposed to standing still. It is an active water. It's a living water. It's active. And then third, we are channels like for the Spirit's work. There's a outpouring. You know what makes a body of water stagnant? It has no way out. Right? There's no flow through it. It's dammed up, and so if we are reservoirs or vessels like of the living water of the Spirit, and if we dam it up, it's going to become stagnant. It's always meant to pour out and to flow out onto community, onto our neighbors, coworkers, etc. It's supposed to. There's an outpouring of this of the Spirit, flow of the water. All right, so let's do just a couple more plagues and we'll stop for the day. We don't have time to go through all of them. Let's do frogs. Exodus 1, 1 through 15.
Oh, chapter 8.
Yeah, chapter 8, excuse me.
The Lord said to Moses, "Go to Pharaoh and say to him, 'This is the message from the Lord. Let my people go so that they may worship me. If you refuse to let them go, I will send thousands of frogs to bring trouble to your whole country. The Nile River will be full of frogs. The frogs will go into your house. They will jump into your bed. They will go into the houses of your servants. They will go into the houses of your people. They will jump into your ovens and into your dishes. The frogs will jump all over you. They will jump on your people and on all your servants.' Then the Lord said to Moses, 'Say to Aaron, take your stick in your hand, then raise your hand over the rivers, the streams, and the pools. You will cause frogs to come up over the whole of Egypt.' So Aaron lifted up his hand over the water of Egypt. Then the frogs came up, and they covered the whole of Egypt. But the magicians used their magic to do the same thing. They also made frogs come up on the land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh called Moses and Aaron to come to him. 'Pray to the Lord. Ask him to remove the frogs from me and my people. Then I will let your people go.' they can offer sacrifices to the Lord. Moses said to Pharaoh, I will let you choose the time when I should pray to God. Then I will ask God to do this for you, for your servants and for your people. I will ask God to remove the frogs from you and from all your houses. The frogs will remain only in the Nile River. Pharaoh said, do it tomorrow. Moses answered, I will do what you have asked. Then you will know that there is nobody like the Lord our God. The frogs will go away from you and your houses. They will go away from your servants and your people. They will remain only in the river. So Moses and Aaron left Pharaoh. Then Moses prayed to the Lord about the frogs that he had brought to punish Pharaoh. And the Lord did what Moses asked. The frogs in the houses, in the yards, and in the fields all died. The people swept the frogs together to make a big heap, or big heaps. There was a very bad smell over the whole country. But when Pharaoh saw that the trouble had gone, his mind became hard again. He refused to listen to Moses and Aaron. The Lord had said this would happen, and it did.
Awesome. Anything stand out to you?
And I thought, well, why don't I have frog legs?
I love it.
The tomorrow thing. Why did he not
Yes.
say pray now?
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
but now,
Right.
let's just wait till tomorrow.
Yeah, just wait till tomorrow. I don't know. Maybe
Maybe
the
they
guy.
were busy having frogs.
Yeah, exactly. That's what-
Again, the magicians. I think of
Yeah.
like
Yes.
who has a dog that isn't always obedient, and you try to tell, to do something and it doesn't, and you say, sit there and look, sit there and just scratch yourself. Okay, good dog. You tell it what it's already doing.
What it's already doing.
Such a good dog. Run away. Good boy.
Like, what are they doing?
Right.
So just see, I can make frogs poop out of the ground too.
These three, those were mine. Those were mine.
Eventually they can. Eventually they can't replicate.
Right.
Yeah.
They do. So the second plague here with frogs, there's an Egyptian goddess of fertility, water, and renewal called Heket, Heket, and she had head of a frog. Yes. So she is depicted at a head of a frog. Isn't that interesting? All right. Last one. This is a short one. So let's do 8:16 through 19. Plague of gnats.
Then the Lord said to Moses, tell Aaron, stretch out your staff and strike the dust of the earth, that it may turn into swarms of gnats throughout the land of Egypt. This they did, and when Aaron stretched out his hand with his staff and struck the dust of the earth, gnats came upon man and beast. All the dust of the earth turned into gnats throughout the land of Egypt. The magicians tried to produce gnats using their magic arts, but they could not, and the gnats remained on man and beast. This is the finger of God, the magician said to Pharaoh. But Pharaoh's heart was hardened, he would not listen to them, just as the Lord had said.
Finally, magicians failed to say this must be the finger of God. Yeah. Nice. So as much as the dust is there, that's a lot of gnats. So I grew up in South Texas, and I don't know, we don't have a whole lot of gnats here, comparatively speaking, because during the summertime there'd be like swarms, and there'd be like a black cloud. You could see them like swimming around. It was just, like you couldn't like they would just kind of go around you, and you breathe, you would like breathe in gnats and stuff. Of course, in Texas, right? Yeah, absolutely. Like they need a little windshield wipers. Yeah. Of course, here in Texas, it would be mosquitoes rather than gnats. But anything else stand out to
This one wasn't announced. There was no warning. He was going to do this one. He just struck the ground.
you? Yeah.
Or at least
That's true. Yeah. Some, yeah, it's interesting. Like some they had warning, some they didn't. Yeah, this is one that they didn't. Um, the Egyptian god of the earth, Geb, Geb, was over the dust of the earth.
It says lice on man and beast.
Do
It says lice on, or gnats on man and beast.
yeah.
So I imagine that affects their sacrifices and worships.
Mm-hmm. Very true. Absolutely.
But what do the gnats destroy? 'Cause, I mean, I get the locusts and all that. The frogs would be just kind of annoying. The gnats are just going to be annoying.
That's it. It's just a display of power and about, hey, this is God. Like the magician said, this is the finger of God. This must be God. We can't replicate this.
Plagues are big scary gnats.
I don't know that you're my kids, like, this is a Jetson. And they're hard to kill, like, at least flies.
Yeah, they are.
Nice.
Frogs are cute.
Yeah, I mean, it's
They
covered.
their dishes and stuff.
Yeah.
Covered everyone. Like it's not like
A few, right.
that's annoying. It's like "Gah!" You know, like you can't escape that.
In King James, the New King James is saying lice, and that's even worse to me than that.
Yes.
Oh,
You know, there's the, yeah, as soon as you think about you know, because they're still around, you know,
Yep.
in school.
Yep.
Yeah.
Having traumatic flashbacks.
Yeah.
all of us.
This commentary says, this is a commentary, and it says that it destroyed the sacrificial system. So, so the animals couldn't be sacrificed, but also the
Talking about the Egyptians.
yeah, the Egyptians,
Yeah.
but also the priests of the Egyptians could not perform a sacrifice if they were unclean, and they were considered unclean if they had lice.
Good stuff.
There's another note that talks about the reflection of how God created man out of dust. And the reflection there to his creative power.
Good stuff, y'all. Awesome. Well, let's stop here. So we can have some lunch, and so normally at this time we grab some lunch and go over some discussion questions, and we can continue talking about kind of how do you apply some of these things that we talked about, like kind of personally. That's the whole point of kind of discussion. But then take some. But since we have some guests today, why don't we spend maybe a little more time focusing on kind of fellowship and just kind of getting to know each other. So let me pray, and then we can dig into some tacos. Yeah, awesome. Lord, we just confess that we want to be in control like way too much. That we don't trust you enough. We don't live like you're enough. We grab the wheel, we take control, and we should be in the back seat or maybe in the trunk. Lord, pray that you'll just put us in our right place. Help us to take off our hands off the steering wheel and pedal and brake, and help us just to prioritize. So we've talked about this morning, loving each other. Teach us how to love each other even better. We want the world to see you, and so that means that we got to up our game on how well we love each other. So just now as we eat together and just continue and go throughout our day, just continue just to speak to us through the Spirit and what you may be saying in this passages that we and things that we've explored here, this morning. So, we love you, and just thank you for this change together today. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.